Let's take you to KwaZulu-Natal, where amid a high rate of gender-based violence crimes in the country, social workers are some of the silent heroes for women and children. Newzroom Afrika's Karinda Jagmohan is spending the day with social workers at the NGO Lifeline, which is also a rape crisis center. It's over to you. Good morning, Karinda.
Good morning to you. Indeed, social workers are the silent heroes as we see a number of gender-based violence crimes across the country, women and children being the victims. And in many cases, social workers become their guardians. They're the ones who have to go to the children to comfort children and start the difficult process of counseling to help them recover. Now, I am here with the director of Lifeline, Peter Maritzburg, an NGO, like you mentioned. They have over 100 social workers at 5 districts across the province. Sinikiwe Biela, she has been a social worker for 23 years, ma'am, and now you are at the helm of this organization. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Karinda.
Good morning. Ma'am, let's talk about the year that's been for Lifeline here in Peter Maritzburg. You said there have been a number of crises you've attended to. Let's recount some of this.
That's very true. I just want to greet the Newzroom Afrika viewers on this very good morning. It's very true, Karinda. We, as an organization, that is our specialty area. We work in the space of gender-based violence. In a month, between the 5 districts where we're working, we see between 1,200 to 1,400 new gender-based violence cases in 1 month. So you can imagine throughout the year how many cases the social workers are dealing with. It is a combination of rape cases as well as intimate partner violence cases where we see women being beaten up severely by their partners. I think the youngest rape survivor that we've dealt with this year was a 1-month-old baby girl that we had to deal with, where the mother was outside, came back in the house, find the nappies full of blood. So our social workers that works in hospitals had to counsel the mother to help her cope with what has happened. And mind you, this 1-month-old can't even say who did it. We also have seen a 96-year-old granny that was also raped, that we had to deal with. So when it comes to the cases of rape, it's shocking because you see a very old somebody and a very young baby that has fallen victims of this very, very violent crime.
Sinikiwe, what do you do when you come to the scene? We know what the police does, what the paramedics do, but tell us about the job of the social worker and how you have to go forward.
Karinda, social workers, unfortunately, people think their job is like 8 to 4, which is not true. It's not an 8 to 4 job. We as Lifeline social workers, we work on Saturdays, we work on Sundays, we work on public holidays, we work late at night. So when they get that phone call, normally what happens, we get phone calls from schools saying this child is walking in a funny way, or we see a blood stain on the uniform, but sometimes we get these calls at 2:30. So the social worker then has to be dispatched to go to that school to actually see to it, to counsel the child and sit down with the child. Schools normally are very helpful. They give us a free office where we can interview the child in private. So then they go interview the child, find out what has happened. When the child says, somebody had touched me, sometimes they wouldn't even say what has happened. So either way, whether they tell us what has happened or they don't tell us what has happened, the social worker will still have to take the child to the hospital for medical examination. That medical examination sometimes drags because she's not the only one that has just arrived at the crisis center or at the Tutuzela care centers. There are other victims before that one. So sometimes the child, by the time they get seen by the doctors, it's after 8 o'clock at night. And when they disclose who did this, you find that it's a biological father, it's the uncle that lives with them, it's the grandfather that shares the very same home with this child, and the doctor has confirmed the penetration. It means this child now can't go home, but it's Saturday at 8 o'clock at night. That social worker is not going home. Mind you, she had worked from 8 o'clock in the morning, hoping it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock I'm going home. sleep, then they don't go home. So we have them sometimes waking till 12 o'clock at night, because after that they need to assist this child to actually open a case. They have to get the parents involved. They have to phone the parents, the caregivers, to come to the hospital now to say this has happened. Sometimes they have caregivers that are very concerned about their children, that they will rush to the hospital to see what has happened. But at times they have caregivers that say, I will support my husband, I'll support my boyfriend, I'm not coming there, see what you want to do, take the child yourself. So when they get told that at 8 o'clock at night, take the child yourself, that's when then they have to start searching for the place where they can put the child. Previously, hospitals used to admit them, but after COVID, they were not now admitted unless they're sick. So they need to be placed in a children's home or in a shelter until further plans have been made. So it becomes the responsibility of that social worker to see to it that that child is placed in a safe environment and is protected and is feeling safe.
Oh, Sinikiwe, the social workers are truly become the guardians of this child who's been through trauma. But just now we're saying that social workers get often threatened by perpetrators. Tell me about the danger that social workers are in every day that we as the public don't know about.
When I started my career, Karinda, I started as a social worker as well. I got threatened so many times in my life. I will get SMSs on my phone saying drop that case, or else what we've done to this child is going to be done to your daughter. It will go to an extent where they will even tell me which school my daughter goes to, which grade my daughter is in, because they're telling me to back off. I'll get messages saying, oh, we saw you hanging the washing on the line. Back off. So those threats are very real. They are genuine, and they are the way of just forcing the social worker to back off. But what happens, for example, when they go to the school and the child says, this and that has happened to me, social workers, they have to do a home visit. It's one of their jobs to actually go and assess the family situation and assess what's going on in this household. And that's when most of them get threatened. And most of the times when they go for the home visit, they don't go with the police. They go by themselves. So yes, they'll go in pairs because we don't allow them to go individually. So they'll go with their co-worker who is also a female. But now the accused or the perpetrator is the male or the father of this household. And that's when they get threatened to be, they get told that they must leave the yard and they must leave it now. And if they don't, something bad is going to happen to them. In one area here in Maritzburg, our social workers went with the car to actually remove the child, but it was a one-way street. On their way back, the family had phoned all their relatives to block the road. So on their way out, the road was blocked by the entire community, saying, send the child back. What do you think you're doing? And they had no way out of leaving the township, because the township had only one road in and only one road out. So that's when they will then phone me, and we have to phone the police and get the police to go get them. If we know the perpetrator is violent, we always ask the police to escort them and go to their household. But not all families are known as violent until they realize they're violent.
Nikiwe, thank you for speaking to us. We're going to continue this conversation because I'm shocked to hear everything you are saying. And for our viewers, at the next hour, we're going to speak to 3 ladies, social workers, professional social workers who've been on the ground as well, telling their stories, because I would like to know what it takes, the bravery, the courage to do the work that they do. Truly guardians, silent heroes of the society amid rising gender-based violence crimes. Women and children are the victims, but the social workers on the ground are those who ultimately become that point of contact, that source of comfort for the victims, and they're trying their best every single day. In the next hour, we'll speak to 3 of those women who are going through exactly what Ms. Biela has told us about.
Very difficult conversation to digest, more so with the information that has transpired. Karinda, Jagmohan, it would be very interesting to find out from the social workers what fills their cup, what keeps them going as well. Thank you very much for that report.